Hello, and welcome to yet another Reader Questions. This is the first one after my birthday, so I want to begin by saying thank you for my many, many fans who wished me happy birthday on my last post, or the one before that. I had a great birthday and I really enjoyed it, and it really means a lot to me to know that you cared enough to send me your happy birthday wishes, so thanks again. Um, Today we've got a few more questions. These come from Mike on the fan page. So, well, let's get into them. After Bypass Gemini, were you always planning to write follow-up novels in the Big Sigma series, or did you start thinking about it when positive reader feedback began to come in? By the time I wrote Bypass Gemini, I was aware that series do better than standalones. And I was, let's face it, better at writing series because I'd only ever done that. So while I did not write Big Sigma with the thought in mind of writing a second, third, fourth, and fifth book, I did write it with the thought that such a thing could occur. So if there had not been good feedback, I probably wouldn't have started writing it. Or certainly I wouldn't have started writing the sequel. Which is kind of funny because I've gotten compliments on there's three books of it out now, and there's a fourth one on the way. But when the third one came out, I got compliments on how the whole thing was amazing. How it was clear from the start I'd planned it to be three books, and I hadn't. I had planned it to be one book with a potential for more, and the rest has just sort of been filled in a la carte as I wrote them. So yeah, that's the answer to that. I didn't write it expecting to write a series, but I wrote it hoping I might have to write a series. Question 2. If you were approached with the idea of adapting Book of Deacon into a movie or TV series, would you be for it or against it? I would be for it. I think it would be great as a film production. Do you think it would work better as a movie or a series of films or a TV series? I want to say it would work better as a movie or series of films than a TV series. Uh, as much as I'm hoping to continue writing the Book of Deacon story, uh, like we learned with Game of Thrones, if you don't write quickly enough, the TV show can outpace the source material. And I don't trust myself to be able to keep ahead of a team of series writers. So a limited series, a mini series or a series of films, I think would work best for Book of Deacon. Um, Suppose it's unfair to ask for one. So, who would you rate as your top 5 favorite writers of all time? It's interesting. I was just having a conversation in the science fiction and fantasy marketing podcast that I do every week. I, believe it or not, don't always keep track of the authors of what I read. I will pick a story based upon whether or not I think it's a worthwhile story, and then sometimes when I'm done reading it, if I decide that I want to read more from that author, I'll see who the author is. So I've read a lot of books I enjoy, but I can remember the stories, I can remember the characters, I can't remember the names of the books half the time, and I can almost never remember the authors. That said, a couple authors that leap to mind. I have to say J.R.R. Tolkien. Even if I haven't directly absorbed everything he's written, his fingerprints are on so much of what I've enjoyed. I sort of have to include him. Terry Pratchett, I will always list as one of my favorites. I don't know if I've read all of his stuff, but I've read quite a bit of it. I haven't gotten into his sci-fi yet, so I should read some of that. Neil Gaiman, another name I like to list on my favorite authors. Jim Butcher, I've read a whole lot of Jim Butcher's stuff, and I really like his stuff. I don't know that he makes the top 5, but since I can think of his name, he probably belongs in the top 5. And so I guess my top 5 is like a top 2.5. I'm sure I have others. I'll be darned if I can remember their names. Jack London. Jack London had some good stuff. Mark Twain. We'll say my top 5 are in no particular order. Terry Pratchett, Neil Gaiman, Jim Butcher, Mark Twain, J.R.R. Tolkien, and Jack London waggling in 6th place, I suppose. Um, Yep, and those are the answers to your questions. I have another one here talking about the audiobooks I mentioned last week, or last time I recorded one of these, reminding me that the friend who is potentially recording one of them will need to have very good sound equipment and a good quiet room. I trust him to know whether he will be able to do the book justice or not. He has some degree of savvy in that regard. If he finds that he's incapable of recording it appropriately, then he will abandon the job and I will start taking auditions, I imagine. But we're at least going to give him a shot. Um, yeah, and that concludes that. I will, if you have any questions that I have not answered so far, feel free to leave them in the comments. And until next time, thanks for reading.